Welcome to Real-ationship Goals, a podcast all about the realities of healthy relationships. Real-ationship Goals is a project of the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. If you or someone you know has experienced sexual violence or harassment and is seeking support, services, or needs more information, links to resources and our hotline number can be found in the description. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of their organizations or affiliates.
Cool beans. Welcome back to season 4 of Real-ationship Goals. We are on episode 8, and we're happy to have you here. I'm Blythe.
Mariana. I'm Kyla.
And just a quick caveat, Allie is sadly not able to join us today. But we are excited to all three here to be here with y'all.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I have our story for today, and I had planned 2 different stories, and I've actually decided I'm not going to tell either one of them.
Oh, incredible.
And instead, I'm going to talk about a story from Grey's Anatomy, the TV show, because I was just thinking about it in my head, and it felt just a little bit more applicable. So in one particular episode, there is a character who is also telling a story. So I'm telling a story about a story.
Okay.
And he had worked for the same restaurant for years and years and years. So whenever he was, I'm assuming, in like his young 20s, like late teens, was working as a server in this very nice restaurant, and talks about how there was a girl his age who started coming into the restaurant like on a weekly basis. So like every Tuesday she would come in, and he was always her server, and he talked about how fun and adventurous she was, and how they kind of started creating like a game, like they became friends, and they made a game like together of where like he and her in the kitchen would all kind of like play together to create like new things that weren't even on the menu that she could try. And she was always like trying a new dish, trying new things. And like they just built this really strong like relationship together, and he just like slowly fell in love with this girl like as she was coming to the restaurant. And then because like their friendship and their relationship was so valuable to her, she brought her new boyfriend to the restaurant. And then he watched as they began to come in together every single week, and then they got married, and then they carried on that tradition of coming in every single week, and he would serve them every single week. And he talks about how he was so upset and he was so sad because he felt like she was trapped. And he specifically said over and over again that she it just seemed so bored, because as the years went on, they would talk less, and he would always order the same dish for her, so she wasn't trying all of these new things. And that was just kind of the thing that the story kept coming back to, like she's just so bored with him. And then later you get to hear her side of the story as she's talking to the same doctors and says, oh no, I'm not bored, he just knows what I like we know each other so well, and our relationship is so strong, we're able to just sit in that silence together and just be together. And he knows my favorite things, so he always orders my favorite dish because he knows it's my favorite. So what looked like boredom and kind of like the monotony to one person, like inside of the relationship, was actually just this like confidence through like the comfort and familiarity of that relationship. So
the story was a roller coaster,
right?
Feelings like he loves her. She got
every episode of Grey's Anatomy is
like really
down. Like we could do seasons on like unhealthy and healthy relationship characteristics from Grey's Anatomy. It's
really good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, stop to make that podcast.
Yeah. I would listen
if you haven't, if it's not around already. Well, Kyla, thank you for sharing that story. So today we are talking about boredom, right? So season 4 is all about uncomfortable feelings that we experience within relationships. Boredom being one of them. So kind of to set the angle for which we're going to talk about boredom. Right. So we know boredom, in general is basically wanting to be engaged when you can't. And I got that from Richard Simmons in a great Washington Post article, that title of which I can't remember. I did not write down. And so we're just a caveat, we're not going to talk about boredom in the context of what do we do just when we personally feel bored, like it's a Saturday afternoon, I have nothing to do. Or something like that. We're going to talk about boredom in relationships. So whether that's like, this relationship isn't new and exciting, I'm kind of bored with this person, or I'm bored in this relationship, it sounds exciting to me. And so Yeah, so and I want to pull in a good, I think, definition of boredom per Aaron Westgate, who's a boredom researcher, which is like fascinating that you could be a researcher of boredom. Is that boredom is the signal that whatever we're doing either isn't meaningful to us or we're not able to successfully engage with this. So, okay, y'all, boredom in relationships. I guess we can maybe start off with like, what could that look like? Like maybe giving some more examples or something like that. What is it? Yeah.
Think like basically going off of Kyla's story, like when you're familiar with a person, or like if you've dated a person for so long, or if you've been friends with this person for so long, it kind of, something might resonate with another person as being stagnant. And with the other person, it's kind of like, oh, well, I'm just good over here. I'm happy about this situation. And so it kind of like makes a difference between how they resonate boredom in relationships. Or like if there's interest change in relationships, like sometimes how you are familiar with like going to the same restaurant and your partner is always ordering your favorite dish. Sometimes that might change. And if you don't communicate that with that person, they won't know. So that also can resonate how boredom can show up in relationships as well. So
yeah, I think that's a helpful distinction between like contentment, like with a circumstance, and like stagnation or something. I don't know if it's a word.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it counts.
Yeah, no, that's a good distinction.
Yeah, and you were hitting on it there at the end too, like communication is such like a strong part of like like taking that space of like tension, and I feel like that is communication is what either makes or breaks like relationships in that space. So it's either like you're recognizing there's tension and you're not addressing it, and then that tension just continues to like grow, and then eventually there might be like a breakdown of things from that, or like you address it from both sides, and then you come together to recognize it and then find ways to like address that, or like you said, maybe one person's feeling bored and the other person's not. You can kind of find compromise in that middle space. So definitely like good communication, and I think that that's something that just needs to be kind of like a constant of like having like deeper assessing talks of like, here's where I am, like my partner Everett is really really good about this, because he is a very like forward like marching person, like time zero marching forward, always looking for like, oh, like what's this new thing that I can learn, or like what's this new thing that I can do, or how can I grow in this way. Whereas I am still very much in grad school, so I'm like I need to be focusing on like this. So in like other areas of my life, like I might seem kind of stagnant because there's a lots of growth in one area, whereas he's already done most of his like academic growing. So now he's growing in other areas. So we just kind of have to have like constant communication of like, oh, well, here is like this for me, and here's what this looks like for me, while at the same time kind of like looking forward. So it's like a deep talk of like, this is where I am right now, and this is where you are, and like here's how we move in a forward direction.
Yeah, that makes me think of how, like with communication, right, as we're starting to get into like, okay, we feel bored within a relationship, what do we do about it? Like with communication, I think is like having, I don't like being really mindful, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like staying curious, right? Like about the other person, especially like as a relationship exists over like a long period of time, like regardless of, and what a long period of time is going to be different for different people and at different ages and stages of life, right? Like in middle school, if you're friends for like 2 years, like that's a long time. Like that, like significantly, versus maybe if you're in your 40s, right? Like having a friend that you've, been close with for 10 years, or you've been married for 30 years, or so, not 30 years if you're 40, that's, oh, no. Maybe for 10 or 15 years or something like that. Or for 5 even. But yes, maintaining curiosity and just continually like wanting to learn, like, who are you? What are you interested in? And like almost assuming like people aren't stagnant, right? Like we don't, like we change over time, and our taste buds literally change. Like before we started recording this, we were talking about I'm not going to spoil. Yes, we were talking about tomatoes. And which got us talking about ketchup, which got us talking about egg. eggs, which got us talking about eggs. And I was like, yeah, like I did not like eggs as a child, but like now I really like eggs, hard-boiled eggs, soft-boiled eggs, scrambled eggs, or easy, like I really like eggs. And so I don't know, like just as our taste buds change over time, like so do broader aspects of our personality and our interests, and things like that. And so part of, I think, yeah, like mitigating some boredom in relationships is just being curious about the other person, and like continually getting to know them and who they are right now, not necessarily who they were a year ago or 10 years ago, or something like that too.
Yeah, basically like not being so content with what you already know about that person. So in order for you to have like meaningful conversations, you have to be more curious about what this person has changed over time, or what their personality is like today, or you know, what other things they are like getting into. So it's just like being very intentional about like not just like getting into having more meaningful conversations, and not just at the surface level. It's like the surface level is like, you already know this about this person. So I mean, it's okay to have conversations about what you already know about this person, but it's also great for you to also just dive a little bit deeper into what they might be, because like we're people, we have minds, and sometimes we don't know what people are thinking at times, and you'll be very surprised at what people might like and what people might not like. It's just all about having that communication and just, you know, being open.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's take a spin on it. What are, specifically like boredom in relationships, what are like unhelpful, either unhealthy or like unhelpful ways that we respond like to that?
I was doing a little bit of thinking, a little bit of noodling around on this. Just because we have like a little bit of a list here, and at the bottom was ghosting, and it made me think about how much more kind of like accepting socially we are of unhealthy responses to boredom. Just whenever I think of like ghosting is super prevalent in like dating apps and kind of like that kind of like culture in space. So it's super frequent, like you match with somebody on Hinge, you match with somebody on Tinder, and like if their opener doesn't like grab your attention, you either just ignore it, or like maybe you'll chat for like a little bit and then just boom, nothing. And just kind of like that's just such like a normal kind of an accepted kind of thing, like in that space, like even on both sides. Like I think that a lot of people don't even really get very like hurt by that at this point, just because that's such like a normalized thing. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking of a really, really popular song from a few years ago by Ariana Grande. Whenever it is "Break Up With Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored" is the name of the song. And basically she's singing it to a guy with a girlfriend, saying like, hey, like you're bored with her, like you're already thinking of me, like just break up with your girlfriend because I'm bored and be with me instead. And I just think about how like normalized and kind of like popularized that kind of like sentiment is just within like dating culture sometimes. Not that there's anything wrong with dating, nothing wrong with dating apps. You do you, loving that journey for you, but at the heart of that, it's so important to recognize like the humanity and like the value of each individual person, because like people aren't just objects that we can like pick up and set back down and like walk away from. Like they continue existing even whenever we're not like observing them or interacting with them. So just kind of like recognizing that tension.
And I think in addition to like people aren't objects, like relationships aren't something that we consume, right? Like there's something that we participate in and that we engage in, and it's not assumption. I think if we have more of a mindset that like I consume this relationship, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, when I get bored with this, I can just like a TV channel, like I can switch to a different channel, or I can watch a different Netflix show or something like that. And like boredom is uncomfortable, like it's hard. Like it's hard to like be in a relationship, be like, like I feel like whether it's we kind of always do the same thing and I'm not as interested in those things anymore, or like we always go to the same places, or we kind of always talk about the same things. A tendency to just want to say like, ooh, I'm uncomfortable with that. So the quickest solution to that is to say, okay, done with this relationship. I'm gonna do this thing over here now because like new is exciting. Like it's really fun to get to know a new friend and to get to, especially like in the romantic world, like to get to start dating somebody new like that. Like pursuit is exciting and it's really like it's really it's really happy, but it also doesn't last forever as we get to know people.
You have to be mindful, even if you do that, like, oh, well, I'm bored with this relationship right here, so I'm going to go over here and start something new. Yes, it's thrilling and it's exciting, but also as you get to know this person more and get to know like what things they like and what they don't like, and you get to be familiar with that person as well, it kind of puts you back in the same boat. So just being mindful that we are humans, you guys.
So true.
And everybody deserves to have their humanity respected and recognizing them and acknowledged. So
and like familiarity can be like a good and a beautiful thing. And I think like when we start to feel that like boredom within a relationship, granted, like being mindful that it's okay if it's like, oh, you know what, our friendship, for example, like we're just really interested in different things, and like, or maybe you move states or are just like, as time changes, like it's okay for relationships to adapt. And it's like, we once hung out every Friday and now we just like don't talk as much anymore. And you're allowed to, feel a ton of different ways about that, whether that's like, I'm actually okay with that. That was a friend for a season. I love and wish the best for them. Or something like that. So not to say that like you have to like remain super close to anyone that you've ever been close to. But also like familiarity in relationships can be a really good and a really beautiful thing. And an encouragement to like pursue new things and continue to get to knowing the people in your relationship. So with that, unless there are any other thoughts, I think Ariana has a relationship goal.
And I do. So our relationship goal for this episode is to create that safe space for yourself and the person you have a relationship with, whether it's a friend, a romantic partner, or even a family member, and just being open and honest about the boredom you're experiencing over time. The second part of this is that you could just like acknowledge and be empathetic towards yourself and others, and just like understanding that it's okay to have those moments and just take a breather, because as I was saying before, we are humans and we're also, it's not going to be stimulating at sometimes, and sometimes you just need that, I am bored right now, and that is okay, and I'm just going to sit here and just take a breather. So yes, that is my relationship goal for you guys.
Nice. Thanks. And I have our recommendation. I recommend the book How Cultures Create Emotions by Batja Mesquita. Fascinating, honestly, a challenging read, just like conceptually. But I found I really benefited from some of the ideas and expanding what even I understand like an emotion to be. So y'all, thanks for being with us for episode 8. We're really grateful for you, and we're excited to have you join us next week for episode 9. See you then.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Real-ationship Goals. This episode was produced by the Prevention and Education Department of the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. You can follow us on Instagram at ACCVC_prevention. See you next time.